Hello, welcome to He's Hot But Something's Off with me, just Joey T. Fall has officially descended on Los Angeles. It's, what was it, in the low 80s today, but definitely it's gone quite a bit cooler overnight. And I run cold most of the time. So the ideal temperature for me, if I'm not exercising or running around or whatever, is like high 70s. And for a lot of people, sitting around in your house when it's 77, 78 degrees, that's warm. No one sets their thermostat to that. Well, they actually recommend, I think, for energy saving for people to set their AC thermostat to 78 in the summertime if you live somewhere warm, because I think that's where most people will feel just uncomfortable enough where they'll notice how warm it is, but not so uncomfortable that they feel like they're melting. A lot of people I know, white people, will set the thermostat to 71 in the summer, and it's freezing. So if I visit some white person's house, and they have AC, and I'm inside, after a while I get cold. But where I come from in Hong Kong, they have this concept of an air conditioning jacket where when it's warm, which is most of the time over there, the weather is quite warm most of the time, and it's also humid. Most indoor places every indoor place has AC, like 100%. And basically, you're going from such warm weather outside, and when you go inside, AC is always so cranked up that sometimes you have a light jacket you bring with you because it's so cold inside. I'm thinking, why don't they just not crank the AC up so much? Just dial it down a couple notches. But I run cold usually. So in warm weather, I do well. Literally, unless it's really, really warm outside, like it's in the 90s or like 100 or something, that's where I'll have AC. But if I'm in the house and it's 73 degrees and I'm not doing it, but in the house, you're just sitting there. You're not exercising. If it's 73 degrees in the house, I'm cold and I'll put on a jacket. So that's the kind of weather we're in. That's how I know it's fall, when I wake up in the morning and I'm cold. I need to wear sweatpants. I need to wear a jacket, a hoodie, something like that. But in the winter time, that's where I'm freezing all the time. And I'm also cheap. Now, when I was growing up, I always remember thinking, or not understanding when you're a kid, why is mom not turning the heat on? I just visited my parents a few weeks ago, my mom, and she's in Vancouver, and it's not winter yet, so it's not that cold. It's, I don't know, it's low 70s, it's the high 70-ish maybe. For the high, and then overnight it's maybe dipping down into like the high 50s or something like that. So she doesn't have the heat on, but she's very like thrifty and penny pinching and things like that, like a lot of moms are, trying to take care of the family when they're growing up, right? So mom never liked turning up the heat, but I feel cold all the time. I'm like, why are we not turning up the heat? And nowadays, now that I'm paying the utility bills and inflation, all that stuff, electricity is not cheap. So now I understand, and I do the same thing now where let's just put on like a thicker jacket in the house instead of cranking up the heat so that we're not, running the bills up. But anyways, I am going to tell you all about my trip to Taiwan Pride. That will be the main topic today for this podcast. I'm going to spill all the tea. Well, most of the tea. I don't think I can tell you every single thing I did over there. But I was over there for 3 full days. I got in there Thursday night, and then I left Monday morning. So I usually fly United, and I flew United for this trip, connecting in San Francisco. And that's nice because there's like a nice lounge that I like in San Francisco where the United Terminal is. And whenever I go there, they always have chicken, very, very juicy, very flavorful, tasty chicken breasts. Most restaurants, when you get chicken, it's all dry. This airport lounge, they always have chicken breast. It's always cooked the same way, and it's always very fresh and juicy. So when I go there, I eat tons of their chicken. I basically eat as much food as I can comfortably stomach when I go to this lounge. I feel like I need to get my money's worth out of the pass for this lounge. So I kind of like connecting in San Francisco sometimes for that reason. So I did that, flew out Wednesday morning from LA to San Francisco, had a ton of food at the lounge. And then I boarded the flight from San Francisco to Taipei. So this is like the Trans-Pacific, the long portion of the flights. I think it worked out to be 13 hours, something like that was the flight time. And it was an economy, but I was able to pick a exit row seat. So I was on the window on the left side of the plane, and there are two other seats beside me. There's a middle seat and then the aisle seat. There was a emergency exit door right in front of us. So, we just had like a ton of leg room. And I got on board pretty early, settled down. I have a procedure. I have a little bag, little like tiny bag that's the size of like, I don't know. It's like a 3-inch by 3-inch little bag. It came with like some toiletry kit that I got before. And I call it my airplane survival kit. And it's always in the backpack that I travel with. So it's got earplugs. It's got an eye mask. It's got a little tiny travel toothbrush with a tiny little itsy tube of a travel toothpaste. I've got some melatonin, some sleeping pills in there, chapstick. So basic things like that where if I needed to get some rest on the flight, just with everything in this one tiny bag that is small enough to fit into my pocket, I take that out of the backpack and I keep it with me at the seat, so I always have access to that stuff. This is going to be a longer flight. I was going to nap for part of it, so that got unpacked out of my luggage, and I just kind of stash it around the seat. I always have a water bottle that I fill up at the airport before I hop onto the flight, so I have a full bottle of water. I always have my iPad with me. So those are kind of the three things where once I get to my seat on the plane, and before I put all my luggage away into the overhead, I will usually take those three things out so that I've got water, my iPad, and also earphones. I usually put the earphones on before I even get on the plane. And then also this little airplane survival kit with all that stuff in it. So I was like all settled in. And then eventually the two people next to me arrived, and then they sat down and they were getting settled. And the person next to me was just figuring out the seat, and then he asked me, "Oh, how do you unfold the TV monitor?" Because on the exit rows, you don't have a seat in front of you, so the TV monitor is not in front of you. It's actually it folds away, and it's kind of between the seats. You have to swing it up from the base of the seat, and then it kind of clicks into place. But it's not obvious how to actually do it. It's a tiny little lever, the size of like a grain of rice, that you have to press, and there's like a weird way to like swing it up, and then there's like another weird way to like swing it back down. I travel all the time. I'm familiar with the plane, so I know all this stuff. So I just showed him like, oh, it's like this tiny little thing you press, and this is how you swing it out. And then he was like, okay, oh, thank you, blah, blah, blah. And then as we were like, I think about to get ready to take off, and everyone's boarded and everything, those two guys beside me, they both spoke Mandarin. It's a flight to Taipei. I don't really know Mandarin, but when I hear other people speak it, I know that they're speaking Mandarin and not like Korean or Japanese, right? I have my headphones on. I'm watching something on my iPad, I think, or I'm doing something. And then they're kind of sort of like chatting, which is fine. I don't care. And then I noticed that they had kind of stopped talking. And then the guy in the middle seat kind of sort of tries to initiate conversation with me. And I'm in my head, I'm thinking, this is where I draw the fucking line. I'm not going to chat with you for the next 13 hours on this long ass flight. So he says something like, I forgot what he said, but he says something to like try to break the ice, to like initiate small talk. And my first thought in my head was like, I was doing something, so I was like a little distracted. So I wasn't like, and I had my headphones in, so I didn't hear exactly what he said. But he said in English like some kind of like lighthearted line to like kind of sort of like start conversation or something. And I don't know exactly what I said. I didn't say anything. I think I said like I just like smiled and nodded or something like that. But I was not having it. Like I'm the kind of person where don't want to make small talk with you. Okay. Oh, I will make small talk with the flight attendant. So on this particular flight, actually, um, I was on board pretty early, so I was one of the first passengers that this particular flight attendant that was near the back emergency exit was saw that all around me was just all empty seats. So I was one of the first passengers that she saw on board, and then she said, "Oh, are you Mr. So and so?" And then I'm like, "Yeah." And she knew my name because I've got like status with United. And have you noticed lately with United, the last 4 flights I've boarded, or 4 or 5 flights that I've boarded on my last 2 or so trips, the flight attendants have gone out of their way to address me by Mr. So-and-so. Whereas before, they didn't know who I was. Like if they looked on their phone or iPad or their whatever thing, then they would know. Usually, if you fly business class or first class or something, and if you fly business or first class, even if you don't have status, usually when a flight attendant comes by, they'll know your name anyways, because that's just what they usually do in business class or first class on pretty much every airline. Because usually they'll come by to welcome you, they'll come by to take your meal order. This is even before boarding ends. They'll be like, "Oh, Mr. So-and-so, blah, 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 blah. What meal would you like? Do you want a drink before we take off?" All that kind of stuff. Because that's what you get in first class and business class. But most of the time when I'm flying, I'm flying economy, including on this flight. And then they must have updated their training or stepped up the game. There's got to be something going on where, the last 4 flights, they all was like, they went out of the way to say like, "Oh, Mr. blah, 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 thank you for your loyalty." And I was like, "Oh, I've noticed that was new." But anyways, she was like, "Oh, are you Mr. Whoever?" Because I was taking that seat. So I guess she studied up where I was going to sit. And I'm like, "Yes." And then she was like, "Oh, thank you for your loyalty, blah, blah, blah." So it's kind of like I made some small talk with her because I've got friends that are flight attendants. And I have I guess the appreciation that it's like not the easiest job in the world when you've got 300 people on a plane and you're trying to serve all of them. And some passengers are just like nasty. And I know that if I make small talk with her, she's not going to try to make small talk with me for the rest of the 13 hours like I would if I started chatting with this guy that's beside me, right? He's just bored. Like he's just looking to pass time. Like I'm not here for your entertainment, okay? But the flight attendant, if I'm nice to her, she might give me like extra food or something. So I was nice to her. She's serving us, like she's working the plane, So I did make small talk with her. But the flight was actually pretty good, had a lot of leg room, got to Taipei, everything was on time. And I booked a random hotel this time. I usually stay with the Marriott hotels. I didn't for reasons I'm not gonna bore you with, but it was, I went to stay close-ish to kind of where all the gay bars and stuff are, even though I didn't end up going to any of the gay bars. And I wanted to be like super far away from the action, and I wanted to be close to the metro because they've got a good metro system in Taipei. And I also wanted to be close to a McDonald's, which I'll get into later. So this particular hotel, it was also like a newer hotel. Here's my trick. If you want like a nicer hotel without having to pay the nicer price, you don't have to get like a super high-end hotel. Just try to look up a hotel that's newer. Because the newer the hotel is, the nicer it is, even if it's like a DoubleTree or like a Holiday Inn or whatever. As long as it's recently renovated or like newly built in like the last 3-5 years or whatever, everything will be kind of new and shiny, and it will feel nicer than it actually is. If you go to like a 1-year-old Holiday Inn versus like a 20-year-old Holiday Inn, the difference is like night and day. So that's what I've been doing, and that's like been pretty successful for me for getting like a nicer hotel without paying like the higher prices, right? I don't need to be at the W or like the Ritz-Carlton or whatever. I just want nicer, newer finishings. So this place just happened to fit the bill. It's actually a nicer hotel than I thought, actually. It was a really new hotel. Everything was really nice. I'd forgotten that I had booked a room that has 2 double beds, like 2 small beds instead of like one regular larger size bed. until I walked into the room and I was like, oh, did I book this? And I looked at my email. It's like, oh, I guess that's what I booked. Maybe that's all they had. And I went back to the front desk. They unfortunately didn't have like a queen or king size bed. Any rooms with just one single large bed. It's just rooms with two small beds. So for the whole trip, I had two beds. So I had one bed that I kind of hung out on, and the other bed was like the sleeping bed. Like it was fine, I guess, but it's a little weird to have a room all to myself, but there were like two beds in it. But it was a really nice room with a pretty decent view. Not that I knew what I was looking at. Had a really nice bathroom. It was the bathroom that had a really nice tub and a shower, and then the water closet, which is like the toilet, was separate, and the water closet had like a separate sink for you to wash your hands. So it's like a really nice setup. So the hotel was really nice. There was a Starbucks that was like attached to the hotel basically. And I don't know how I booked this thing. I booked it not in the traditional way, because usually I'm on like the Marriott website to book a Marriott chain hotel. And this was like a Hilton chain hotel. So I forgot how I booked it because it was months ago. But when I checked in, the chick said, oh, you've got hotel credits at the Starbucks that's attached to the hotel, and like this is how much you have. And I don't know the conversion rates for anything. When I travel to any foreign country and they're like, oh, this is like how many pesos or how many yen or whatever, I have no idea what that means. And I don't know the conversion rate for anything in my head. So I have to go into Google and be like, okay, 1,000 Taiwanese dollars, how much is that in US dollars, right? So she showed me like, oh, this is how much credit you have and this is how you use it. And I was like, okay, these are like meaningless numbers to me in my head. I'll look it up later. And it turns out I had $70 of food credit at the Starbucks to spend. And at first I'm thinking, over 3 days to spend $70 at a Starbucks? Like, how much coffee can I get? Like, there's not that much coffee, right? But when I visited the Starbucks, this was a really nice Starbucks that had way more food options than any Starbucks you would get in the US. So they had tons of different pastries and desserts and sandwiches and paninis and that kind of stuff. So there was like a lot of stuff that you could eat there. And the prices for things there is not as expensive as in like the US. So they had this like chicken vegetable panini. I think it works out to be $3, $3 something like that. In the US, if they sold that, it would be like $10 or $12. So I didn't use up all the credit, but it was also a really nice Starbucks in the sense that it was pretty large. There was a lot of seating. There were a lot of people a lot of college students that just went in there and were just studying or doing whatever. So a lot of locals and I guess like hotel people were hanging out there. So it's always like kind of happening. It seemed like a really nice place to hang out, actually. Like a really nice Starbucks, nice decor and everything. But like I said, I wanted to find a place that was close-ish to a McDonald's because I secretly like eating at McDonald's when I'm not at home, when I'm traveling. So it's a little bit of like a guilty pleasure, if you will. But I think I might have mentioned this, but when I travel, especially to a place that to a foreign country where they don't necessarily speak English, there's comfort to me to going to like a chain restaurant or like a fast food place that like McDonald's, where, okay, I know that is dependable and it's reliable and I can just get some food, any food, without a lot of fuss. So having a Starbucks in the building and the credits, the McDonald's was literally next door to this place. It was literally next door. And it was like, it was a pretty nice McDonald's. And then they have the those kiosks where you can order, which is like the best thing because one, I don't like talking to people, even if it wasn't in a foreign country. And second thing is I can just order the thing and then they just bring it out. They just read your number and then you're good to go. I ate every meal at the Starbucks or at the McDonald's. And this sounds gross to a lot of people, but I don't care. I like eating McDonald's. They have this one burger that was like some sort of Angus beef burger. They don't have this in the US. This not the McDonald's menu is very dependent on the country that you're in. David Lamb knows this because David Lamb goes to McDonald's just everywhere that he goes. A little bit like me. I don't go to the level that he does. But that this Angus beef burger that was, I'm not gonna lie, it was delicious. And the way they do the extra value meals over there, you can get fries and chicken nuggets both at the same time. It's just like an option. You can do both. So I was like, oh my God, I'm doing both. So I had McDonald's, I think like 5 or 6 times. And one of the days, based on the jet lag, I got up really early. I think it was like Friday or Saturday morning. I remember which day, but I couldn't like really I couldn't sleep the full 8 hours. And I just naturally got up at like 5 or 6 a.m. And I was just up and I had like nothing to do. Nothing was really open, right? So I was like just watching some TV, doing something in my room. And then eventually I was like, you know what? I can go get breakfast at McDonald's. And usually I'm never up when it's breakfast time at McDonald's. I was like, this is really exciting because I like breakfast at McDonald's. And it's very rare that I'm up doing the breakfast hours. They run it till like 10 or 10:30 or something. So one of the mornings I went to McDonald's and got breakfast. So there you go. Okay, we're moving on from Starbucks and McDonald's, because I don't think that's what most of you came here to hear about. But events, parties. So I didn't party super hard. I was only there for 3 days, and I don't need to go to every party these days anyways. But I did go to the Formosa Circuit Party that was on Friday night, and I ran into like a bunch of people throughout the night that some of them I knew they were going and to Taipei for Pride, and some of whom I just have no idea. And there were some people that I know of those people. Like I see some people and I was like, oh yeah, I've seen you around at like different circuit parties or from the US or from wherever. So yeah, it was a really fun party. It's actually pretty good. So did that on Friday night. The Asian guys there were all like very hot. Categorically, like just not hot for Asian, they were just hot. Like I don't really like this thing where like, oh yeah, like you're hot for an Asian guy. Oh my God, that is annoying. Like in Western cultures, if some white guy or like a non-Asian guy goes to an Asian guy and says, oh, you're hot for an Asian guy, don't say that. Okay, don't say that to an Asian guy. Don't walk around the guy and be like, oh, you're hot for an Asian guy. It's like a slap in the face. It's like a very backhanded compliment. Like, don't say that. So, but these guys are just hot. Yeah, most of the people there are Asian because we're in Taiwan. So like 98% of the guys are Asian guys. But like they were just, the caliber of hotness was like off the charts. Seriously. So it was a good party. Ran into a bunch of people that I knew, so it's good to see them. And then on Saturday morning, we went to the Pride parade. And usually I don't do parades. You know, it's not really like my type of a thing. But I had a friend that I was meeting up with Saturday morning. He flew in Saturday morning from Hong Kong. And we had plans to go to the parade together. And then I found out a little later on, before the parade though, but I found out that, and like in the US, where you can't really march with the parade, if you go to a pride parade in the US, unless you have been specifically signed up to go march, be on a float or be with a float, in some way, shape, or form, you're not marching. You are behind the rails or behind the fence. You're on the sidewalk and you're observing. You're not really walking anywhere. You're just like standing there, and then you're just watching floats go by. So you can do that for the Taiwan Pride Parade, but I've heard that it's very popular to just kind of walk with it, and they allow that. So we got there like a little bit late, so we were near kind of sort of the end of it. About 50 feet behind us were like the police cars that was like corralling the end of the line, but it was fine, and we were in between we were actually walking with the flow, so they let you do that. In the US, I think it would have been like a safety hazard, or they would have deemed it a safety hazard. I walked with the San Francisco Pride Parade before a couple years with some companies that I was working for, and we were able to like actually be with the float. And there are a lot of specific rules about what you can and cannot do when you're marching in the parade. For example, they said you cannot throw things into the crowd Even if it's like a very soft plush toy or something like that. Because it's popular for floats to like expect companies that have a pride float in the parade for them to like give away swag for like advertising, basically, right? Like a rubber bracelet or like a keychain or whatever. So, but you're not allowed to throw anything, even if it's like the softest, lightest thing. They have this like no tolerance policy for that kind of stuff. So in the US, that's kind of the culture, right? But with in Taiwan, with that Pride Parade, like you can just walk with all the floats, and it was like it was a pretty enjoyable time. So they have two routes. They have a north route and a south route, and they just have two routes. I don't know why. So we just went the north route just randomly, and we were kind of like walking and kind of in between the floats, basically, or like with the floats. So it's actually a really fun time. It was overcast, and I was lucky that it wasn't raining because I was looking at the forecast a couple of days before the trip, and it said it was going to be raining Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which were like the 3 full days I was going to be there. But there wasn't that much rain when I got there. There were some days where it was cloudy, a few sprinkles here and there, but it wasn't really raining at any time when I was out and about, so that was fine. So we walked through the parade. It was a really fun time. People were very enthusiastic and energetic, especially the people that were like on the floats. You know, it's very similar, honestly, the energy to any of the pride parades that you get in the US. So it's really fun time. So we walked the whole thing. And then Saturday night, I kind of wanted to go to the Formosa Circuit Party for that Saturday night, which is kind of like the main event. It's going to be the most popular night. But by the time I had made up my mind to go to Taiwan, like 3 or 4 months ago, they had already sold out of the tickets for Saturday night. There was a good period of time where I could have gotten tickets for Saturday or for the whole weekend lineup of the circuit parties, but I had not committed to going yet. And by the time I committed, it was too late to get those tickets. You could get tickets at the door, but I chose to just not party that night instead of potentially waiting like an hour and a half or 2 hours for tickets. And after having gone on Friday, I feel like, you know what? I went on Friday. It's going to be the exact same venue. It's probably going to be mostly the same people. I'm sure there's going to be more people and some new boys I haven't seen. But, you know, I'm not usually the type to go to a circuit party to like meet new people. And there wasn't like a group of friends I was traveling with. There were people I know that were going, and I kind of sort of hung out with them. But I was like, I don't really want to have to wait in line to possibly not even get a ticket. And I have to go really, really early to get the door tickets anyways. So I decided not to go, save a little bit money. And I actually just stayed in on Saturday night. I think I would go to Pride in Taiwan again for sure. But I think I would want to go with like some friends, like travel with them and like, you know, stay at the same hotel together and like kind of hang out together and kind of go as a group, which is what I always do for White Party Bangkok for New Year's, for example, which I'm going again this year. And, you know, there's a group of us that we're all flying in from different places. A lot of them are living in Australia, for example, and I meet up with them, but we're staying in the same place together. We'll go to the parties together, and that it's just more fun for a lot of those types of events. For this one, I kind of flew there alone. So I ended up deciding not to go there on Saturday night, which is completely fine. On Sunday, I had some collabs lined up. If you know about me, I am a professional content creator. So I have some collabs lined up. For those of you that know where the videos are, those videos will be up eventually. But if you know, you know. So this is collabs on Sunday. And I also want on Sunday to just be, just to like wind down a little bit. Really fun to do the Friday night circuit party. It was really fun to like be in the parade. I knew I wasn't going to be in Taiwan for that long. You know, it's just 3 full days. And my flight, I needed to leave the hotel at like 6:30 a.m. Monday morning. And I was more concerned about just beating the jet lag for coming back so that I can kind of get back to the gym and get back to like regular things once I was back here in LA. So yeah, did some collabs on Sunday, rested up a little bit, and then I was looking kind of forward to coming back. Not that I didn't have a good time there, but I think uh, the way I had planned everything, felt it felt I was it felt like I was doing a lot of stuff. It didn't sound like I was doing a lot, but I was meeting up with like various people. I had friends that I met up with, the collabs. I had the events I was going to, and between all of that, I felt like it was like a good amount of fun, but I didn't have like a whole ton of downtime. It wasn't like a relaxing time. It was like a kind of sort of like a fun party type of a thing. But there was also it also felt a little bit like work. So I was kind of glad to take the flight home. Also, I got upgraded to business class for the flight home, which is really nice. I always look forward to the rare times where I get bumped up to business class. And I knew that a few days before I even flew to Taiwan, I knew that emailed me to say, oh, for your return flight, you got bumped to business class. So that was really, really nice. So that was basically Taiwan in a nutshell. I definitely want to go back, but I think I would really love to spend two things I would do differently is I would try to go with like a group of friends, like stay together with some friends and go to the parade and go to events and go do stuff together. I would want to maybe stay 1 day longer, maybe 2 days longer, but it just depends on how much time I have to be away for. So I think those are the only two things I would change next time, but I would definitely want to go back eventually. Maybe not every year, but whenever I can get some friends to travel with from the U.S. or just meet me there, I think that would be a lot of fun. For the flight back, again, I was trying to adjust to like the jet lag, because it is quite a big time change between Taiwan and the West Coast in the U.S. So I plan to basically sleep the entire flight back. The flight back was like 11 or 12 hours, and they serve you a meal shortly after takeoff, like a full meal, and then they serve you a breakfast about like an hour and a half before you land. So basically, in between the meal service, you have about 7-ish hours where you could sleep. And because it's business class, they come and take your food order, your dinner order, while everyone is boarding. And I was just asking the flight attendant, she was super nice, about the food options, blah, 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 blah. And in United business class, for the international flights, they have this dessert cart, and one of the signature things they have are the sundaes. So they have these sundaes that are on the cart, and they have all these different toppings that you can add onto it. And I was looking forward to that, but I wanted to ask her, I plan on sleeping most of the flight. Could you just bring me all the food? They have this express dining option. It's on the menu. You can ask them for it. Can you just bring me everything at the beginning, and then I can just go to sleep right after? And I was talking to her about that, but she said, you don't get the dessert that way, because the dessert has to come on the cart, and it's not ready to like just give to you if you just want to do the express dining where they just bring you all your food all at once. You won't get the dessert that way. And I was like, well, I want the goddamn sundae. So the dinner, like the main course, the appetizer, all that stuff, that came, and that was fine. And I remember that. But after I got home, like back in the US, and I was like in the bathroom, I was washing my face or taking a shower, doing something. And I thought, I didn't get the sundae. I wanted to eat the sundae, but I ended up not getting the sundae for some reason. I think I just went to bed before they even served the sundae. So I was like, that was a waste. I should have just done the express dining thing where they just brought me all the food earlier all at once. But I ended up not doing the express dining and then not getting the sundae. And then I was on my phone a little bit later, and I was like, I was gonna upload a photo or do a post or something. And then I saw in my photo album two photos. These are the two newest photos in my phone. The newest photo was an ice cream sundae on my tray table in my seat. The second newest photo was me taking a photo of the dessert cart. And I was thinking, I have no recollection of either of those two things happening. I did not remember at all seeing this dessert cart. I did not remember ordering or talking to anyone about, may I have the sundae off the cart, please? Because you have to tell them what you want, but they have other types of desserts and they have like a cheese plate or other things. You have to tell them what you want when the cart comes by. And I have no recollection whatsoever of eating that sundae. I do remember getting the entree, like the main course before that. And I remember that what happened before I went to bed, because you can ask for them to give you this mattress pad thing when you convert your bed for your seat into a bed. It comes with like blankets and stuff and a pillow, but if you want, you can ask a flight attendant for like a mattress pad to put onto the seat to make it more comfortable. And I remember having that conversation, and I remember putting the bed down, and I remember like getting into bed and getting ready to go to bed, like, or getting ready to go to sleep. Yeah, so I remember everything that was before the dessert. I remember everything that was after the dessert. And I'm like, there's no way I would have not remembered eating dessert. And I'm thinking, what could it be? And I think this is what happened. I took some melatonin and I took some sleeping pills, like over-the-counter sleeping pills, like the Benadryl or something, or whatever you call it. I took that right before the meal service, because that's what I usually do if I have to sleep on a plane. Is before the meal starts, I'll take a sleeping pill to make myself sleepy, and by the time the meal is over, in like 30 or 45 minutes, I'll be sleepy, like the pills will kick in, and then I just go to bed. So the only reason I can think of for just having absolutely zero recollection of the dessert portion of the flight, which I was looking forward to, was maybe it's like a side effect of like the sleeping pill that, like, I don't know, I don't know, but it's so weird that I don't remember the dessert. I remember what was I remember the entree. I remember even like putting the olive oil onto the salad. I remember like they have this like cold, thin sliced beef, like second entree thing that was good. I remember the steak that I got was really delicious. I even remember putting the butter onto the bread. I remember everything about the entree. And I remember making the bed, because I remember I was putting the comforter down, thinking that was like maybe the mattress pad, and then kind of sort of looking around for a flight attendant and asking them, is there a mattress pad? Do you guys still have the mattress pad on request like you usually do in the business class on flights before? And she said, yeah, I'll get you one. So I remember everything before the dessert and everything after the dessert. And I don't remember the dessert. And this sundae it's a very good sundae. And usually the sundaes you get in United Business class, it's like a little too cold because it's like frozen when they load it onto the plane. And usually it's still mostly frozen when they serve it to you. So one of two things happen. You remember how rock hard it is when you're eating it, or you remember how, it's not rock hard. So like it's a very memorable experience, but it's usually too icy, it's rock hard, or you're pleasantly surprised that it's not as rock hard and icy as it usually is. I remember neither of those things. I have no idea what I ordered for the toppings, except I have this photo to prove that I think I got almost everything on it. So it was really weird. So I'm chalking up to a side effect of these over-the-counter Benadryls. Maybe it was like a little expired and I didn't notice and has like some weird memory loss thing. But I did sleep pretty well though on the flight. And when I got back, I kind of sort of beat the jet lag pretty successfully. So the sleeping pills worked, except you guys gotta watch those side effects, I guess. So yeah, that's my trip report for Taipei Pride. What other travel that I've got coming up? I've got a day trip to San Francisco to take care of like a thing. It's not like for fun or parties or anything. I'm going to go back to Vancouver one more time because Mom's birthday is in December. So I'll go visit for Mom's birthday. And I've got a friend who's turning 40 and he lives in Austin and he's making a thing of it. That's also in December. And then before you know it, the New Year's going to come up super fast. It's just gonna creep up on us. For New Year's Eve, like I said, we're gonna go to Bangkok again for white party, like we do every single year. But it's just crazy how it's almost the end of the year. So a few more trips to go and just a couple more months left in 2023. So quick reminder, as always, the video version of the podcast is available on my YouTube channel, Just Joey T, and also on Spotify. I'm wearing a zip-up hoodie that I don't usually wear. I don't think I've ever worn this out of the house, but it's very, very comfortable. So if you want to know what I'm wearing I was at the gym today, but I didn't do my hair. But like I said last time, I'm too lazy. So yeah, I'm wearing a hat and I'm wearing this pink, very nice pink. It's just like, it's not silk. It's like polyester. It feels a little like silk. But yeah, if you're watching the video version of this podcast, then you know what I wear every time I record an episode. But until next time, bye.